Fancified Lambonauts. This is internet personality Vangelus, and ThreeZero has provided a review copy of MDLX Sideswipe, the next entry in the line of conversionless, Generation 1-centric Transformers action figures as redesigned by ThreeZero art director Kelvin Tsao. Bringing things back down to an MSRP of $80 US, Sideswipe's arrival has been anticipated for several reasons, the least of which being that there are countless repaint and retool possibilities locked and loaded for any iteration of a Lambro Autobot. MDLX's Sideswipe goes for a pleasant fusion of athletic cybernetics and classic car robot bulk, keeping most all of the iconic Lambo parts visible while pinching and pushing proportions for the sake of a sexy silhouette. All the torso stuff, like the hood and the roof, are squeezed into a svelte upper body, while the rear chunks of car mode have been swept out to form inbuilt bell-bottom flares. Obviously, the paintwork is delivering on the most basic of baseline ThreeZero standards, but to get granular with it, I am into the mixture of finishes. The gloss on the red and black car-based bits, the satin on the bot mode limb blocks and face, and the metallic sheen on all the silver. It makes Sideswipe's shoes and inner leg exhaust pipes pop like starlight. Everything's also received a healthy dose of panel lining, right down to the little details of Sideswipe's facial structure. That said, I should note that my copy has a wee blemish of asymmetry where only one of the headlight adjacent ridges has a dab of lining. This Crimson Lamboy comes with a humble spread of accessories, including 2 sets of hand swaps. As always, as we tend to, as the world often does, we'll begin with fists. These machines are made for punching tyrants. The hand swap technology is the expected ball socket pop, and once again, these ones can be a little finicky due to the wrist joint being a barbell. Anyway, the second pair of hands are a solid, calmly open sculpt, so a midlife youther like Sideswipe can keep his knuckles limber for all kinds of activity. The third and final pair of hands are for holding his laser blaster, which is a single-piece, single-color accessory that fulfills the precise function of being a weapon for either of these aforementioned grippy hands to hold. Sideswipe's shoulder cannon is his other major weapon accessory, and it mounts into either of the hidden holes on Sideswipe's rear collar. These each have a removable plug, and those plugs are tiny, so don't drop them! Once it's installed, the shoulder cannon can pivot up and down on a hinge, but cannot swivel from side to side, so Sideswipe needs to face whatever he's going to launch a payload upon. Finally, you can use the hand swap ball poppage to mount the final accessories, Sideswipe's pile drivers, both the pointy penetrator and the stumpy smasher. The pieces look great, they are a little more finicky to attach than any of the hands, and you get one of each. I was really surprised to see these as an asymmetrical pair rather than 2 symmetrical pairs. I assume these will appear again with a recolor at some point, but I was actually checking the box for a full minute before I realized what was up. Also, there's no jetpack. The red jetless backpack thing that came with Optimus Prime has no way to mount on Sideswipe either. Sideswipe's backplate does not come off. I know this topic may well come up, so here you go. Right up front, I'll just say all the stuff you would want is probably here. There's a ball socket neck with lots of range. The bottom of the neck is connected with a bigger, more statutory stationary ball socket. The shoulders have just a bunch of moving parts. They're connected. And there's a double ball barbell metal piece in there, which allows for a lot of lateral motion, a lot of repositioning of the axis. The shoulder pad can flip up on its own. The arm can move independently, so you can get a whole bunch of arranged range with not linkage parts, but parts that move kind of in linkage when you do that. There's also a bicep swivel and a double-jointed elbow. The wrist joint is a double ball socket barbell, and like other MDLX toys, it benefits from that. Lets you have a little bit of tilt and wiggle, and I can even show you with the open hand that it also can benefit from just that little bit of wiggle. The things on his arms that are probably doors are connected via a big brass ball socket joint, so they can actually wiggle as well, for whatever posing purposes that may serve to you. You can even swivel them forward if you want to invent a reason for doing so, like maybe that's, you know, rotational shielding. You can see some paint there by doing that too. Hidden detail! So, you know, waggle, waggle, waggle. The waist joint is a simple left and right swivel. I was gonna try to hide the rest of it as a whole haha gotcha joke. You already saw it in motion. There's a big double ball joint in the mid-torso. It lets you do some tilt. It lets you do a whole bunch of circular motion. If we go back here, you will see a bunch of exposed spine when you do this. It is just a ball socket joint, so once you're here, if you have the room, you can also start tilting again. This is just a specially angled piece. So again, it's not linkage articulation, it just looks a whole lot like it, and that's one of the things I love about MDLX. These back butt plates are ball socketed on, and they are the easiest thing to knock loose when you're getting a little bit too crazy with your ball socket joints. So be aware that they probably didn't break. The butt is simply, each cheek is one ball socket joint, and each cheek has the side skirt ball socketed onto it. Kind of like a chain of ball socket joints. Don't pull them apart though, because they're small ball socket joints and you're gonna get freaked out that in trying to do a bit for a video, you broke something. Still haven't, but yeah, these things can sometimes fall off a little bit easily. The front ones, less so, and they're on a double ball socket joint, so they're on a barbell stem, so that each side of Sideswipe's crotch can individually ambulate forward for whatever reasons you may need to do that. I pulled his buttock plate off again. Reasons like making full use of the hip joint. It's a barbell ball socket thing, so you can move the base of the hip forward and back. You can pivot it up and down, pull down fig art style, and then that means you got more room to kick it forward by making the crotch plate on that side double joint itself forward. You've got so much room for kicking forward. There's also a thigh swivel. But these are the MDLX hips that I've described many times, and on Sideswipe they once again figured out a way to make them have totally free movement, and for the skirt to feel just a little weirdly jiggly. The front crotch ones on the barbell stem actually feel way better than the butt plates. So, you know, canonically, as it's known across continuities, Sideswipe has a weak buttock. There's a double hinge knee, and it's some of that lovely simulated linkage articulation, so you're just revealing a detail with a kneecap that moves on its own part of the assembly in the back. You're just covering stuff up. There's no spring-loaded bits involved. It's just very nicely cut, and it looks gorgeous when it does its knee thing. We finally got another car robot, so hey, the wheel can turn. Well, the wheels can turn. It's my favorite ThreeZero odd thing about Transformers non-transforming figures they do is often if there's a thing that's a wheel, it can turn. Why not? The feet are on a big, long, double ball stem, like other MDLX figures, and before I get into the foot, there's also sort of understated articulated point back here. These spoiler bits are on a kind of tight ball socket connection to a very thin, very limited motion little stem down here. It's entirely so they can just move like from there to there or anywhere in between with a ball socket on top. Pretty helpful with the size of this guy's feet though, and the feet have got, you know, toe joints. They're very big, very solidly standable, and then if you get in there and manipulate where the actual ball sockets are, you can get some pretty decent posing out of these. The thing is, the pant leg is so wide that I have trouble getting that to work easily all the time. I have to do a little bit of finagling, and nothing is really gonna break because it is just a big solid hunk of pantaloon, but it's odd how tricky it can be to get the tilt to fully tilt, or to get the foot situated back into a neutral position. So, in general, solid MDLX articulation, as is expectable from this subline, with the only finicky bits being, you know, the common MDLX finicky bit being crotch plates, and then the feet. A little bit tricky to access, but that may also just ease up with time. I opened this up about an hour ago, so bear that in mind as well. MDLX Sideswipe is the first of the slightly less than headliner Autobots in the line, and he is hitting an MSRP sweet spot of $10 higher than Bumblebee, finally returning us to a realm of palatable double digits after so many triple-digit seekers. Between the high-end paint and poignant punches of zinc, I feel like this guy hits most of his marks, making me not only look forward to Jazz, but also not entirely dread the potential swarm of Lambro recolors who may or may not be peeking over the horizon. My main issues with Sideswipe are his singleton pile drivers and his fresh evolution on the weakest part of the MDLX experience for me: weird hip armor articulation. Otherwise, I'm pleased to finally see a post-Optimus MDLX piece that doesn't have some kind of massive accoutrement attached to their body, simply delivering on the soft mission statement that Bumblebee debuted of a high-end figure experience at a mid-end price point. I hope we get one or two more of these in the MDLX G1 line after Jazz, before another elaborate piece like a Seeker pops up again. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and I think the actual next MDLX Transformers are some even lower priced representation for the main Transformers 1 foursome. It's still a long road to MDLX Action Master Elite Omega Supreme, but I trust you, ThreeZero. I trust you.